Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the All Elite Cast here on the 5-Star Network. I am your host, as always, Scott Edwards, and with me today, because 6-Star was not able to join us due to commitments, is none other than Dramatic Dream Dragons host, Sondre. Sondre, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Hi. I joined for the worst Dynamite of the year. Let's go.
To be fair, everyone, he agreed to join before the show actually aired. So I,
I
I, I
I
want
did.
everyone to know that. That's very important. He didn't say, oh, this was terrible. Let me join now. No. He committed to this beforehand, which is unfair. It's unfortunate because, of course, we've come off like the heels of like some great dynamites, with last week's being the real uh, cherry on top of just a fantastic run. So it was a matter of time before we got a stinker, and poor Sondre has to be here for that one.
Yeah, it's weird because Dragon Gate no AW AW has been hitting so well this year for me, and it's it's so weird that the week I am scheduled to come on the show is the week where I felt I shouldn't have gone back to the promotion this year, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
as I like to say, not every show can be a home run. They
yeah,
when it comes to wrestling television, it's hard to do that. Obviously, I mean they could put on great matches every week if they wanted to. And I know this week was more of the continuation of stories as we head into Revolution, which, mind everyone, because I just realized this, is 2 weekends away. Did not
oh wow,
did not realize that until we were halfway through this show last night, and I was just like, oh no, I don't know what half the matches are, and then we got
yeah,
some, so that's good.
they haven't built like any other matches but the main event and maybe the women's match.
Yeah, we'll get to
And Hangman and John
yes,
Moxley, of course.
yes, we'll get to all that. I've been yelled at already on Twitter that because AEW was I was told that AEW was a B show, and I said if you consider this a B show, then you need to stop. Some people were like, "Well, some people see a C Raw and think it's the greatest of all time." I was like, "Well, who are you talking to? I'm not the person that says Raw is the greatest of all time. Shut up. Like, leave me alone." Uh, but we'll get to it. We'll get to all of the Revolution announcements, and we'll be ending the show talking a little battle in the valley and a certain Switchblade, as his decision on where to go is coming up. And I may drop it in here or there as there's a certain interview during the show that I think is very interesting in terms of what Jay White could be doing soon enough. But let's get started. We had a graphic before the show paying respect to the late Jerry Jarrett, of course, the father of Jeff Jarrett, who passed away earlier this week. He was a big time name in pro wrestling. If you don't know who Jerry Jarrett is, go Google it. You're welcome,
Yeah,
everybody. Anyways, the first match of the night was Orange Cassidy, the Acclaimed, and Billy Gunn defeating the team of Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. The moment that I saw that this match was opening the show, one, I forgot that it was happening, so I was a little, it was to be fair. Yes, it's very cool that Jeff Jarrett was able to go right out there, due to circumstances and just perform. That
yeah,
being said, I could not have cared less about this match in terms of just
yeah.
being a wrestling fan. I
Uh,
don't
res-
like or don't really care for anyone on the Jarrett side except for maybe Jeff Jarrett. And then on the other side, I just Orange Cassidy's All Atlantic title reign has been boring to me, and the Acclaimed, they're whatever.
yeah, I did not realize until the match was over that uh, Jerry Jarrett was Jeff Jarrett's dad. uh, But respect to Jeff Jarrett for working the week his father died. I could never do that. But respect to him. Um, I this as you said, nothing about this does anything for me at all. Like I agree with you with Orange Cassidy. Like uh, as the AEW title, the like All Atlantic title reign, it's been fine. Like I just wish Pac had a much longer reign, but.
Yeah, me too.
And speaking of someone that should have had a much longer reign, The Acclaimed. Like, what the fuck was last week?
Well, that's the funny thing. I said to Six Star 2 weeks ago when they made the match that I was very confident that the Acclaim were going to lose. And I'm also very confident that they're not going to be getting the titles back. Now, that being said, I would never, ever have gone with the Gun Club to be the team to beat them.
Never.
I don't get it. It's like I get the gun part of it all. I get that, but come on, folks. Now, I will get to the Revolution match and my thoughts on that because it does feel like the Guns will not be champion all that long. But we'll have to get there. But the match ended. They did the Sesame Timbers to Sanjay Dutt for the win. They teased it for about it felt like 20 minutes. It was it everyone considered doing it, but ultimately it was Anthony Bowens that hit the Sesame Timbers, whatever it's called. Sesame Timbers for the win. The match was truly, truly basic.
Uh,
Nothing
when
exciting.
when this match was over, I wished I had napped like 10 minutes longer than I
Yeah,
did before Dynamite.
yeah, don't blame me. I would have felt the same way. Uh, After that, a video package aired of Bryan Danielson's quest to the Iron Man match at Revolution. I thought the video was really good. He said that the Boogeyman is coming to get MJF. So no, not the Boogeyman from WWE. The Boogeyman here is, of course, Bryan Danielson. It should be. I will say that despite this build to this story and this match, other outside of the Danielson matches being kind of mediocre, um, the video packages and some of Danielson's work as of late on the mic has actually been really great.
Yeah, I mean, this is the build to this title match has been so good, but very on the side of Danielson. Only on his side has it been good. Like,
Yeah, well, I have
uh,
thoughts on MJF later, and it's not
yeah,
great.
yeah. Well, everyone has thoughts about MJF. Let's be honest, but yeah,
That's true.
Danielson has been such a highlight of the two first months of the year, and I will be sad when he loses.
Yeah, as everyone should be. I know this is the Danielson like superpower that he gets everyone to believe that he could win,
Yeah,
that he's going to have just the possibility of being world champion, and then we all realize that ain't happening, sadly. Which will be the case at Revolution, but we'll get to that in a second. Next up was the Texas Tornado match. Claudio Castagnoli and John Moxley defeated Roosh and Preston Vance. This match was odd. It was
it was
odd for me.
long,
It
very
was
long.
long. It was long. It had two commercial breaks. It started off with a brawl in the in the stands, and ultimately, got into the ring. My thoughts about this is that I have been very up and down with Claudio's run thus far. Obviously, he's had some great matches with Takeshita and Zack Sabre Jr. specifically. Off the top of my head, the first one was Zack, and then the one with Takeshita on Battle of the Belts once upon a time. But it's hard for me to always be invested in the Blackpool Combat Club because it almost feels like I don't know, they never are in sync to me when it comes to their stories. Because I
Yeah,
think with the Ring of Honor World title being on Claudio now and the Pure being on Wheeler Yuta, these two almost have to be held off of these shows unless John Moxley needs help. And to me, when you have a world champion, playing second fiddle, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
very weird. And I've noticed that with Claudio, so I haven't really connected fully with his ring. Don't get me wrong, when he gets in the ring, he's great. That's never a question. But I
Yeah,
think with
but he should be the center point of his reign, not the second guy in the Blackpool Combat Club
exactly.
after Moxley.
And I guess that's why I'm excited that we will be getting Ring of Honor television very soon. I believe it starts on March 3rd, March 2nd. It starts airing, if
Oh,
I'm not mistaken.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
But
our ROH TV starts very soon, which is great, obviously, but uh, it can't start soon enough because I have a tough time caring about Claudio. And then when it comes to this match, honestly, it's only weirder for me because the Blackpool Combat Club hasn't given a shit about helping Bryan Danielson until now. Bryan Danielson's been beat up on a weekly basis. He's been, going through it, whether it's MJF attacking him, having Brian Cage attack him. Takeshita's been the guy making the saves. So it's like
yeah,
you only cared when it was finally at the end because sure. And I've talked about it on the show. I don't understand what the whole direction is of the Blackpool Combat Club. I think the idea is for them to just be there. And they are always there. They don't always have to be together, which is fine. That's perfectly fine with
yeah,
me. But when Danielson's getting his ass beat and you only come in at the end of this entire run to help him, it's just like, all right, sure, whatever. That being said, the match, it got really good towards the end. A little
yeah.
slow at the beginning.
I
Roosh was
I
great.
I will say that it got really good in the last like 5 minutes, but up until that point, it was very slow, and like a lot of just brawling, and not the like good brawling that we saw last week with Brian and Rouge, but more the like just brawling for the brawling.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Moxley when he does that kind of stuff, but this was just slow, and the crowd didn't react at all because this crowd was terrible.
Yeah, I've seen some people feel different ways about this crowd. Sometimes this crowd was like really lively, and then other times you would have thought that nothing was happening. And the nothing was happened a lot of the times
Yeah,
when you would expect reaction.
yeah. There's a big moment later on that I was like, what the fuck is this crowd?
I will say I thought Preston Vance looked better than expected, though you could tell how out of his element he is
Oh
with
yeah,
these
this
three.
I think this was a way too long match for Preston Vance also.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I agree. And then also the blood's getting a little excessive. I like blood in matches, but John, chill out.
Yeah, this is every match now. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it sure is. Backstage, Hangman Page was attacked by the Butcher, the Blade, and Kip Sabian. So worth keeping note of that. After all this, Jim Ross had a sit-down interview with Wardlow, and I thought this was actually one of the really good story points of the entire show, which is funny because I couldn't have cared less when Wardlow returned 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
So that automatically means they accomplished a lot. So Wardlow's talking about, personal stories about his father and how he shared stories with Joe when they were a tag team. More Joe, of course. He was sharing how he looked up to his father, they had a somewhat rocky relationship. His father got cancer, was able to see his first indie match, and then he ultimately passed away. So the relationship there was Wardlow grew out his hair and beard to remember his father. We saw pictures of his father who had long hair
yeah,
and a beard, and ultimately he said, well, that was my connection to my father. And Samoa Joe, who of course got rid of the ponytail, he took that away from him. So then Wardlow really turns a corner here and gets serious and says Joe, Joe's gonna pay for that. He won't survive Wardlow. And I was like, all right, I'm sold. This is the type of segment I want for these pay-per-view matches.
Yeah.
It's simple, it's effective, and now I can't wait to see these two go head to head. Don't get me wrong, I think Samoa Joe has been phenomenal, and I think Samoa Joe should still win. I'm not saying that this one promo said, you know what, I'm sold. I need the Wardlow title reign back. I'm not saying that, but I am saying I'm very much looking forward to a match that I was not originally looking forward to when he walked back through the door. So great job all around. One of Wardlow's best promos yet, if not his best.
Yeah, it was a very touching promo. I really liked it, and I felt it built Wardlow up again. Like I just hope he's better than like he doesn't get as repetitive as it was during his TNT reign.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the biggest point of this interview for me was that when I looked at Wardlow with like short hair, um, he just reminded me of Killer Cross when he had hair. And I couldn't unsee that. I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah,
And that
he
bothered me.
he looks weird. I didn't think this would be
Yeah.
like a thing. I thought he would look fine without, but he does look weird without the ponytail, which I was
Yeah.
not expecting.
It was very like, whoa. I
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at your new look since you came back, but man.
Yeah, it was a little haunting. But he's a lot
I,
better than Karrion Kross,
yeah,
thankfully.
yeah. But look up a picture of Karrion Cross when he had hair, and then do it with Wardlow next in that sit down interview.
You would think they're a tag team for sure. Uh Next up was Mark Briscoe on AEW Dynamite. Obviously, that's a big deal. Anytime Mark Briscoe wants to show up, and Mark Briscoe gave Josh Woods the best AEW match of Josh Woods' career, maybe the best match. I don't really like
Hmm,
Josh Woods all that much. I'm
I mean,
not a
I wouldn't say
big,
best match, but yeah.
I know, but at least in AEW, because I think his run in AEW has been very boring.
The
I know
Utah match.
Josh Woods had some good work in Ring of Honor. I'm not a big Josh Woods guy. I think some of his pure stuff was quite boring,
Yeah,
um, which is mostly of all the Josh Woods work I've seen. So that doesn't help either. I know he had some good matches with Silas Young, I believe, once upon a time.
yeah,
Um, real throwback there, Silas Young. But I thought they had just a really good, solid little match here. Mark Briscoe getting the win with the froggy bow. I like that he did tease the J Driller. He didn't hit it, but it seems like Froggy Bow will be like his normal finish now. To beat the lower guys, and then J Driller will probably
yeah.
ultimately be his world title winner whenever that happens.
ROH World Title. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I I think it's cool that he is now signed. He's
Yep.
all
He is
elite.
now all elite. He's all
Like,
elite and Ring of Honor for life. That
yeah,
was the main point that was said.
and that's of course that's what should have happened last year with both of them. But
Yep.
um, this is awesome. I love that Mark Briscoe is on weekly TV now, just weekly as he should.
Long overdue.
Long overdue. I think they need to like start a build or something for him.
Yeah.
Maybe if you would like a ROH guy,
Yeah,
like
I
some
agree.
Samoa Joe, probably
Mm,
that would be cool.
yeah.
After Wardlow and Joe are done, have Samoa Joe and Mark Briscoe feud over the uh, TV titles.
I think it's a good call. I think, and with Ring of Honor TV coming back, obviously you could do it on there too.
Yeah,
Um, I was thinking about this. I think with Briscoe, you do write out a long-term story for him getting that world title. I think you
yeah,
can play it to final battle. You can even have a bump in the road, of maybe him losing a title match. But ultimately, in the end, it should be him becoming Ring of Honor World Champion somewhere down the line.
and maybe that leads to Claudio becoming like an arrogant heel. That would be cool. I
I
would
think
like that.
Claudio would be great at that. And
Yeah.
Claudio was great at being a heel in WWE, so I feel like with the chains off, he'd be an even better heel here in
Yeah.
AEW. And I think Combat Club, they're great at being heelish anyways when they
Yeah.
have to take that turn. So I think it'd be
Because they're
great.
bullies.
Yes, exactly. Next up was a sit-down interview with Adam Cole and Renee Paquette. Very, very simple sit down. It didn't give us too much information. We do know that Adam Cole is eventually returning at Revolution in some form. At least that was the plan. They didn't really say that on the show, but I think that's still the direction they're going in terms of Adam Cole's return match. He was talking about how he there's minor victories in his recovery. He was saying some crazy stuff, like the fact that he could turn his eye and it doesn't twitch anymore. And I was like, what? Like, what did you go? Why are you back? I was terrified for this man. I was like, Jesus, like you went through more than I think any of us could have ever imagined. And we've heard more and more about his story. And he should be one of their biggest baby faces moving forward, but there's always going to be that little doubt that he's Adam Cole, and that may not last. But I do hope that they go with the baby face run. I think them ultimately just turning him heel in the end would be very bad. They did that with MJF, and look at MJF now. I think Adam Cole can be a guy cheered on. I think Adam Cole could be a guy that's challenging for the world title soon enough. So I think this is the best way to go. In terms of his opponent, who we'll talk about a little bit later, I still think Jay White might be your best option, just based off the story. Of course, it was last year at Forbidden Door that Adam Cole got injured in the IWGP World Heavyweight Title match, and it was Jay White who ultimately in the end protected him very quickly, by pinning him and ending the match. But that was the main story when Adam Cole was leaving, was between him and Jay White. And I
Yeah.
think kind of playing up to that friendship just for a heel Jay White to beat Adam Cole in his return match, it would be a win-win for everybody. That can
Uh,
make
yeah.
Adam Cole a big baby face, and that can make Jay White the big heel that he should be. And I don't have to worry about Jay White going to WWE, even if I do think Jay White will be fine wherever he goes. And we'll talk
Yeah.
more about him later, of course.
Yeah. We'll talk more about Jay White later, but I think that's a very good like debut run for him. If he's going to AEW. And
Big
I
if.
when it comes to Adam Cole, I've always preferred him as a heel. Like
Yeah.
always. I always I always say that his best like run was when he was a heel in ROH.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I would like I hope I get back to liking Adam Cole again, because during the run he had early last year, I lost a lot of love for him.
Yeah,
Uh,
just redoing the Undisputed
yeah,
Era stuff was bad.
redoing the Undisputed Era was not for me. That's not what I wanted him to do.
And I don't think it's what anyone wanted, truthfully, when it came to Cole
Yeah,
in
and like
AEW.
he's always been a great wrestler, so I hope we can get back to like appreciating that about him, and not like hearing just seeing him and Britt Baker win everything like they did last year. Those tournaments, the Owens. Yeah,
Yeah,
remember the Owen.
I thought about that the other day. It's like, oh my gosh, I forgot that tournament was the thing. So that's
Yeah,
something to look forward to in terms of great matches after Revolution, if anyone is wondering. But all
yeah.
right,
As long as they make it better than last year. Like I was not a fan of last year's Owen. Like it had
yeah,
good matches,
I remember some good matches, but
but both the finals involving Britt and Adam Cole was just not for me.
yeah, it was a weird decision. It was just a thing to give both of them. I'm sure it'll be better this year now that they've kind of figured out. Anyways, let's
Yeah,
get to it. MJF makes his way down to the ring, does heel stuff like throwing stuff and being mean to fans and tossing drinks in their faces and soaking in the booze and blah 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 blah. Whatever.
Being MJF. Yeah.
Yeah, being MJF, being a heel, which is
Yeah.
fine, which is fine. But MJF's promo is where we always, at least here on this show, we have some thoughts. And this promo to me wasn't offensive or anything. It wasn't too much like he's had in the past couple weeks. It wasn't anything awful. I just found it incredibly boring.
Yeah.
I thought it added nothing. It's like, we're in this business. It was the most generic heel world champion promo I've heard from MJF possibly ever. He's talking, you think Bryan Danielson's the best or the greatest because he has 5-star matches, and we don't get in the business to do that. We get in the business to be world champion. I'm the AEW world champion. Yada yada yada.
Very, very Ric Flair promo.
Yeah, very Ric Flair. I think that's a good shout. And the crowd didn't really care. They weren't like, I'm reading this report and they say he's listening to the boos. There wasn't that many boos, truthfully. It was more of just, oh, all right, this is what's happening. Great.
Yeah.
He brought out Christopher Daniels to talk about how Danielson isn't actually good, or something of the sort. And Daniels quickly revealed that MJF paid him to come out and say that. And then I thought Christopher Daniels actually cut a really good promo,
Oh yeah.
giving you the history of Bryan Danielson and himself, which the funny part is I walked out of this saying, man, Christopher Daniels is so underrated. He's going to go down as one of the more underappreciated guys in wrestling history because he wasn't in a major promotion until the very end, until most of his career was up. But this was a great promo. So Daniels was a great promo, and I thought the execution after Daniels walked out there was actually great. It's just the old MJF rambling stuff at the beginning was just so,
Yeah.
it didn't add anything to the story.
Just filling time.
Yep.
On TV. We got the line of the night and possibly of the year though, because I will forever now call Bryan Danielson for Brian Knock Your Dick in the Dirt Danielson. That's the name. That's the name, okay?
Yes, I forgot. Christopher Daniels did say he was going to knock, that Danielson was going to knock MJF's dick in the dirt.
What a great line.
I was not ready for that. I expected like to kick your head in or something.
No,
But
it really
that was
popped me.
great. I meant to say that Daniels talked about how there was a match with Danielson where he thought he felt like he was going to die. And I think that it was a good way of kind of making people understand how good Danielson is in the ring and how physical he is. And ultimately, of course, Daniels ended up slapping the taste out of MJF's mouth, and MJF then hit him with a low blow and locked in the salt of the earth Fujiwara armbar before Danielson came down to make the save. So, pretty generic world champion stuff from MJF. Great stuff by Christopher Daniels. And Danielson, of course, making the save. So it's not bad build to the world title match. It's just very basic when you have the ultimate underdog Danielson in there, I think. But all the matches and stuff worked to their favor, made their match more exciting. So it's okay.
We should have had another Bryan Danielson match on this show. That was what it was missing.
That's so true. The guarantee of a Bryan Danielson 4+ star match, it was very missed on the show.
Yeah.
We've been spoiled. We got a video package of the Guns celebrating their tag team title victory. I know everyone's so excited. And they went on to say that they've had 10 televised matches, and I was disgusted. I was like, and you put the titles on them. All right, great. Half of those are probably from Rampage too, which makes it even worse. The Guns, they're good.
I,
They're
I was
decent.
just gonna say that's too low, man. I feel like they've been on like everything since
Well, yeah, I mean,
last year.
match wise, they don't wrestle, but they are on every show. It does feel like
Oh
I agree
yeah,
with you there.
I guess.
Like the televised matches thing gets me because it's like, all right, so you literally didn't care about these guys in ring wise, and now they're your champions. That's fine.
Yeah, but
What
because all those wins on Dark mean
Mhm.
something, okay?
As I said last week, the best thing I could say about the Guns is I like their theme song. Um, this promo was fine. It's they're chicken shit champions. It's fine. It's whatever. They're here to be transitional champions. I don't care what anyone else says. That's what they should be. So we'll get to their match in a little bit. We know what their title match would be. Next up was Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeating Brian Cage, and I just sat there and I said to myself when Brian Cage said, "Who better than Cage?" I said, "Literally everyone. I've never seen you win a television match ever." Like this dude comes on these TV shows and he fits a role, which is fine. But even dating back to his Team Taz days, this guy never wins on TV. They can tell me all they want that he's one of the most winningest wrestlers of AEW so far this year or of all time or whatever they said. I don't care. I only see this man show up and lose, which is fine because I'm not the biggest Brian Cage fan or anything. But it's like, dude, you need a new catchphrase. You need a new catchphrase. You can't just start screaming, "Who better?" and then I just see you proceed to lose. It's so funny. Um, I will say my biggest takeaway from this match is that Jungle Boy Jack Perry is starting to hit a stride as a singles wrestler, which is important because it does seem like he's getting built for either beating Samoa Joe somewhere down the line for the TNT Championship. I think that's where they'll ultimately go. But we at least do know that his story has an actual stop coming up, which we'll talk about in a second. But Sondre, how'd you like the match?
I it was fine.
Yeah,
It was during this match I noticed that none of the matches on Dynamite had hit for me. Like I was like, yeah, no, it's fine for every match, and it felt very
it
just
was like such
nothing.
a TV wrestling show
Yeah,
in that nothing was like
and
all that
I
good.
I was thinking that it might just be me coming off the highs that was last week's episode, but yeah.
Very true.
And I mean, this match was fine. I can't really say anything much about it. I hope Jungle Boy does something soon.
Well, good news for Jungle Boy is that after
Yeah,
the match, the music of Christian Cage hit.
to
And
absolute silence.
yes, this was one of the times where the crowd really was like, What are we doing? It's Christian. It's not like
Yeah,
it's just some jabroni. It's Christian Cage. Come on, people. But I thought the segment or the delivery was really great between these two. So Christian, has sprays the eyes of Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy wasn't going to attack him or anything because Cage is selling the injury with the arm sling. And then as soon as the spray is done, Christian Cage takes off the sling, takes off the cast, and then hits Jungle Boy with a unprettier, what the hell is it called? Kill switch. On the ramp. And I thought this was greatly done. And I actually was like, okay, I'm okay with this because now they can actually have a real match, unlike last time.
um, yeah. I'm happy that Kristen Cage is back. Like this feud should just be the one match and then move on because they were feuding for so long last year. Uh, they just need the one match where Jungle Boy beats him, and then we can move on.
Mm-hmm. It's the one
Um,
thing that Jungle Boy desperately needs because the only match they have is him getting squashed.
I will say that I hope we get more just Christian Cage promo time. There was not should have cut a promo or something with that
Yeah,
during
I'm
that
sure we will. I thought for sure he
because
would too.
he is great
After,
on the mic. So
yes, he
he's
is.
such a good heel.
He is, and I think he'll get Jungle Boy over with
Yeah,
this mini feud heading into Revolution. After that, Renee Paquette was back to inform us that at Revolution, the Guns will defend their titles against two teams. The first will be the winner of a battle royal next week. And then in 2 weeks, a casino battle royal. So two battle royals, but one's just different than the other. So we'll act like they're different. So that led to the Acclaimed coming in and saying, well, we want our championship rematches. So they entered themselves into the match, making a fatal 4-way tag at Revolution. And I
because
will,
apparently AEW has rematch clauses now.
yeah, I don't remember that happening, but I guess
Yeah, they
I
they were like, we're invoking our rematch clause, and
yeah,
I was like, what?
I
That's
don't
not a
remember.
thing.
I don't remember. From my memory, I think everyone has had a championship. No, they haven't.
No,
I'm
I
trying to just think.
remember specifically that the elite said when they started the company that they didn't want to have rematch clauses or something.
Well, the Acclaim do. So
I guess so. It's just whatever the former champions want.
the fact that they didn't go with the singles match, though, is very telling, I think. That they didn't go with the single duos
Yeah,
of the Guns and the Acclaimed. It does feel like this is
it would have
this
it would have really stunk up the card.
this is getting set up for these two teams to pretty much be taken out within the same match. So next week's tag team battle royal features the Best Friends, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, the Butcher and the Blade, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, Arya Davari and Tony Nese, and then the Lucha Bros. I'm not going to sit here and tell you who I want to be in this. I think you could figure it out based
Yeah,
off of how I just read that through. Getting the Lucha Brothers on the pay-per-view should be essential. But
yeah.
if you don't do that in that match, my guess is actually that Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal get in
Oh
because
God.
I expect the other team, the casino team, to be FTR as the Joker and getting it. So
Yeah, that would make sense.
if you want two baby faces and two heels, then Jarrett and Lethal are oddly the one that makes sense, I guess. I don't know. I don't want that to happen. I also hope that Top Flight gets in that match next week. I know they're wrestling this week on Rampage, so maybe that's why they weren't announced yet. But I would like if they got in, and then you have Top Flight and FTR win the two respective matches if Lucha Bros aren't winning. Though,
Yeah, I
just give
mean,
me Lucha Bros and FTR. Just put the
like
best tag teams in the damn match.
the tag title match on the pay per view in like it should be with with Lucha Bros or FDR or Top Flight,
Mhm.
not the Guns.
No, it really shouldn't be. This is part of the AEW pay-per-view problem is that we rarely ever get the the best tag team title
Yeah,
match. I feel
yeah,
like that's like one of their biggest problems. We always have multi-man matches or a match we just that kind of comes out of nowhere, aka the first time I feel like they did Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory.
yeah. That came out of nowhere,
It was like,
but
oh,
it
all
was
right.
it was so good that it
Yeah.
got the acclaimed over.
I was gonna
So
say they got lucky in that the match absolutely killed it. So
yeah,
it didn't matter. But that was red. And I remember seeing on the card originally. I was like, meh, well, whatever. And then they ran it back last time. So it's like it was almost never ending at one point.
yeah,
Um, so my hope is that we could stop with the almost forgetting the tag division exists sometimes when it comes to pay-per-view builds and get eventual match. And listen, I am not an idiot. I can understand that the ultimate build is probably to FTR Young Bucks 3
Yeah.
on pay-per-view. So maybe that's the one time I get it. And if so, great. I'm happy we get it at least one time. But it should be every single time.
One thing that needs to be said about the tag team division, that is something that people should always remember with the tag team division, is the fact that AEW in its short history has had a lot of good matches, but two matches that stand out on the top 5 AEW matches of all time are tag team matches, tag title matches to be specific. And I'm of course talking about Adam Page and Kenny Omega versus the Young Bucks and Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros. And like that's the one of the biggest things about your promotion, and right now it's just dying a death because you have two people that like are still learning wrestling after your champs. It's
you know what the Guns
they should have had a mid card tag title for the Guns, not the tag titles.
I think the Guns could have been decent heel champions in the new Ring of Honor to kind of ruin the idea of Ring of Honor, right? Because the idea of Ring of Honor, of course, is, pure, great in-ring style. So automatically the Guns could have been big heels by just winning those. And maybe that's the idea with the AEW belts. But like you said, the best of the best in AEW has often been tag teams and the tag team gold. We saw it with Kenny and Page. We saw it with the Bucks. Unfortunately, the Lucha Bros run kind of marks the start for me of kind of these titles taking a hit. Not because the Lucha Bros are bad, but it's because that reign was so poorly handled, in my opinion. Right there, the matches with FTR never really clicked like they should have. And then by the time you knew it, they lost the titles. Then Jurassic Express had the titles. I didn't care at all for that reign. The Young Bucks had
that
it
was
just
way too long, also.
exactly. The Young Bucks had it just to get the belts to Keith Lee and Swerve. Though the match that Keith Lee and Swerve wanted in was actually great. That was them, the Bucks, and Ricky Starks and Hobbs. That was actually great. The kind of way they told that story a little bit, though they just
Swerve and
tossed.
Arguri had also a great run.
Yeah, they only had the belts for 70 days, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but those were like
yes,
a highlighted reign last year.
Yes. The Acclaim, I didn't love them as champions. I said it on the show that I was kind of losing it, but I didn't need the belts to go to the Guns, who are the sore thumb in the group of tag teams that have held this. It used to be Jurassic Express. It is now the Guns.
Yeah.
By a lot.
By a lot. I mean, get it back on the FTR. Get it back on like anyone else.
Yeah, I think FTR.
The Lucha Bros and Top and FTR would being added to that match would be like making it become good. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope they pick it, that the tag division gets good again this year.
I'd probably go FTR for a healthy run, at least to All Out, or even I'd even go as far as Full Gear. I don't care. Long run is not a bad thing when you're getting great tag matches. And then you could crown Top Flight. I think Top Flight by the end of this year probably should be champions. They're having a great kickoff to the year, and by then I think they'll be ready. As an overall package, you're not rushing them like you kind of feel like you did with the Guns, because you needed a heel tag team to take the belts off of the Acclaimed. Anyways, let's move on. The Elite, Don Callis and Michael Nakazawa were playing basketball because this weekend is NBA All-Star Weekend. This was all just to set up another match between them and AR Fox at Top Flight, which will happen on Rampage this week. Rampage is looking quite good, actually, which is nice for once. Deserving after this kind of shitty week.
Wow, I'm looking at the card now. The Rampage card looks better than the
Yeah,
Dynamite card.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And so that was made, and then there was a super quick graphic that flashed for Bray Wyatt. I mean, the House of Black,
Yeah.
aka Bray Wyatt's long lost cousins. So ultimately, in the end, spoiler alert, it's going to be the Elite versus House of Black at Revolution, which I will say that will be great. Like I understand, like we could, people don't like the House of Black stuff. That's fine. I understand that. It's annoying, like the weird promos and doing nothing with them. That stinks. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're gonna see Brody King and Kenny and the Bucks, and I like Malachi. Buddy's been very missable in terms of most of his stuff, but I think he's been good in the trios matches at least. So I think that'll be a great match.
Yeah. I let's
Yeah.
keep the Elite run going. I
Yeah, please.
like get maybe after this match on Rampage get new opponents. I don't know who the pay-per-view opponents will be.
It's House of Black.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not a fan of House of Black.
I don't like to give spoilers, but spoiler alert for those who may be bothered. House of Black did stare down the Elite after their match.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of House of Black. I feel like they need to get some direction.
Yep.
And this might be the direction they need, but still that and also that like flash of House of Black during the promo was so like it was so WWE. I was not a fan of it.
It was specifically so Bray Wyatt, which is just
yeah.
even worse. I will say something tells me that, based off of the trios matches I've seen House of Black have against good opponents, like their match, who was it? They went against Pac, Penta, and was it Eric Redbeard on a AEW pay-per-view pre-show once, and that was really
I
good.
remember that. That was pretty good.
And that was with Eric Rowan. This is going to be against the Elite, so I'm pretty confident this will at least be a great match. The feud may not be all that good because there's 2 weeks to build it, but it is what it is. All right, we have another. Jesus, there was a lot of wrestling on this show. None of it was all that good. Hangman Adam Page defeated Kip Sabian. I have to say this because it was on TV this week. I think Kip Sabian stinks. He is so boring to me. He is, okay, I said this. The big difference between AEW and WWE is that WWE's talent that are there to put people over, they're actually talented. It's because it's most of the guys that people want released so that they can go wrestle somewhere else. Shout out Akira Tozawa.
I was just about yeah.
But like I watched this match and I was like, it's fine, but Kip Sabian has always been presented as such a geek to me. So Hangman Page should be running through him, and I guess that I get that's why they did the attack beforehand. But I was like, whatever. I'm just happy that he won with the dead eye. Instead of having to do the buckshot lariat. That was like the little thing that I was like, good. Yeah. Kip Sabian shouldn't have to take the buckshot lariat to lose. Yeah, good. Screw him. Fine match that got to the main point, which was the post match.
It was luckily shorter than the last match, which was in 2019 and was 19 minutes long. I just want to say that.
They had a 19-minute long match. Jesus.
Yeah, AEW Fight for the Fallen. On the pay-per-views on the before they started airing.
Oh wow, that's
wow! Look at this card: Kenny Omega versus Shima.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
GLEAT. That was before GLEAT,
Yeah, that was before GLEAT. That was when we had Strong Hearts randomly on AEW, and now we don't anymore. Which which is fine because I like Elite, so it's okay. But I wouldn't mind if they dipped in for a Elite trios match. That would
That
be
would be
nice.
cool. That
Just
would
to
be
do
cool.
that on a random Dynamite. That'd be
Just to
cool.
bring back the memories of
Exactly.
what could have been if OWE had worked with had not like disbanded or whatever.
Yeah. But after this match was the important part. John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta walked down to the ring, talking how he doesn't think they have unfinished business because he beat Hangman Page in the middle of the ring, and Hangman obviously was not too happy about that. He said he doesn't think Moxley's satisfied with that weak ass win, and thinks the end will be with whoever's left standing at Revolution. The Dark Order would come out. Evil Uno would cut a pretty solid promo. Want to give him that credit. Evil Uno, good promo. We get John Moxley versus Evil Uno next week on Dynamite. I think that could be a quietly really solid match.
This was such a good promo from Evil Uno.
Yeah, I want to say, I've kind of been crapping on some of the AEW Revolution build this show. But everything about Hangman and Mox has been great. It feels like the world title feud. It truly does. And I'm happy that it's not, because it means you're building a non-world title feud great. And it will be, as everyone expected, as me and Six Star have been saying for weeks, it will be a Texas death match at Revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your match of the night. I'm pretty confident on that one. There will be blood. There will be insanity, but it will be great.
Yeah, I think that could like steal the show, definitely. By the way, I need to say something. You skipped past the fact that I needed to mention that Kip Sabian I will have to review twice this week. I will have to talk about the Kip Sabian match twice this week.
I'm actually intrigued to see how he looks.
He is going to DDT, and he's having his debut match on the 18th, and I will have to review it on the Dramatic Dream Dragons here on the 5-Star Network. Let's go.
When's Samurai del Sol showing
up? On Judgment, which is in like March.
God damn it!
So that's
they announced them the same time.
Yeah.
So happy you get Kip Sabian twice. Everyone, check out the Dramatic Dream Dragons here on the 5-Star Network, please. They'll be. It's some good shows this weekend though. That you guys get to review, which is nice. So it's not all Kip Sabian, thankfully. Next up was, speaking of things I don't care about, Jericho Appreciation Society. I have no recollection of this. I think I completely blocked it out of my brain.
This was actually really funny because I went from like being really hyped about Dark Order versus Blackpool Combat Club, and like, oh yeah, Unit Warfare. This is like Dragon Gate shit. This is my kind of wrestling. and then like immediately they cut backstage to Jericho Appreciation Society, and I was like, no, I don't care anymore. I don't want Unit in AEW anymore.
Yeah, it stunk. It's a story that'll never end. We get Danny Garcia and Ricky Starks on Friday.
Everything Jericho does is a story that will never end.
I know. It's so funny because I was a fan of what he was doing for the most part with the Ring of Honor World Title, and then he feuded with Blackpool Combat Club for 8 months, and I was like, okay, I just want all of this to end. Please go away.
I will never forgive 2022 for having Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho feud for like 5 months.
Yeah, I won't either.
And Bryan saying that this was like his second to or like third last year as an active competitor. And I was like, what the fuck are they doing with you? Just having you feud with Jericho for so long.
Yeah. After this, when we got back from commercial break, the mediocrity continued as Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, and Stokely Hathaway talking about Hook. Hook is suspended. That is, or suspended based on the investigation, which
what?
I don't know. It stunk. I did not enjoy I don't enjoy the firm. I don't enjoy when they're in my face. I don't enjoy when they're here. It's dumb.
So for the last ever since so here's a little backstage info or whatever that I don't think even you know, Scott, but after the All Out last year and all the way to this year, I've watched like maybe one Dynamite and a couple of
Oh.
matches from the pay-per-views because I just fell out of love with this promotion. So I'm like confused every time I see Matt Hardy with the firm because I'm like, what? Okay, I guess you guys own him or something. I don't know.
That's funny as hell.
Yeah,
That
like
is so funny.
for like 3 months I got my updates for Dynamite from Amy.
Well, you know what's even funnier? I don't even understand what's going on with Matt Hardy, because I think they did it all on Dark and stuff. So I
Yeah,
really don't know what's going on. But I will say that I don't care about any of this. I don't
yeah.
like the firm. I don't enjoy the firm, and I need them to be off my television screen. Main event: Ruby Soho defeated Tony Storm and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. The story that they continue to tell is interesting. The match itself, it was not good.
This was a match.
It
That's for
was
sure.
a clunker. It was not great. Not great.
I I was like I was really hyped that they were giving the women the main event.
And
Uh,
then
and then the match happened. I was so just not.
they rang the bell.
Yeah, and like I first of all that when Saraya and Tony attacked that like obviously plant in the crowd felt so WWE. It
Oh,
felt
I think it's so bad.
so it felt so like just why. The only bright points of this match was that Ruby Soho won.
Yep. And even
Like
that
that's
wasn't enough for me to
yeah.
be
Like
happy.
this is the lowest rated match on the card on Cage Match, and yeah,
Oh, it was
it is.
bad.
Yeah, it is exactly where it belongs.
I will point out the obvious of Saraya spray painting Tony Storm's butt to do the
So WWE, God.
the face plant thingy or whatever it's called. I don't know. It stunk. Okay. It was all bad. It was all bad. We move on. Ruby Soho won. She teased. She looked at Jamie Hayter's world title. That is what we got out of this. That is AEW Dynamite, folks. It was not great. What we do know now is that this is the Revolution show to this point.
What
MJF defends his
before we move
oh,
on,
oh,
what was your favorite match from Dynamite?
jeez. Probably the tornado tag, maybe.
Yeah, because it had a good finishing stretch.
Pretty much. By default, it's that.
Yeah, by default it's that.
I have
Yeah,
no other
this
choice.
was a very like it's so from from like the the other shows they have had this year, and then they have this show that just felt like it didn't have like I would have been fine if like they had switched out like a match with a good match,
Right.
but an actual like Brian Danielson 4-star match that would be awesome. But no,
Yeah. Yeah. It was
yeah,
it
let's
was a
go talk
letdown.
Revolution.
It was a letdown nonetheless. But Revolution, the card is as follows. It starts off with, of course, MJF versus Brian Danielson for the AEW World Championship in a 60-man Iron Man match. We've known about that one for weeks, of course.
Good
We
luck,
also have TNT Championship match. Samoa Joe defending against Wardlow, a Texas Death match. John Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page, and the Gun Club versus the Acclaimed versus the two teams from the Battle Royals for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. So there you go. That's what to look forward to at Revolution. The card still has room to grow. Obviously, there will be some matches that we look forward
Yeah,
to, some matches that I will not look forward to, but
they,
a
but
fine
like,
card so far.
yeah, but we don't need like, we don't need like a, a Jarrett match that is like versus. We don't need a firm match at all on this card.
No,
Like,
no.
keep in mind we have a 60-minute Iron Man match in the main event. Like, let's not fill out the card too much. Because then I will be
They're
like
gonna
still watching it at 7 a.m. and wanting to shoot my head
they're
because
going
it's
to
so
add
long.
an AEW Women's World Title match, which will probably
Yeah.
be a multi-woman match. They're going
Uh,
to add.
my prediction for that, by the way, is a Ruby versus Tony versus Jamie.
I don't want to be bad. Then we'll have Ricky and Jericho against my will. We'll have Adam Cole versus whoever he faces,
Yeah.
and we'll have the Elite versus House of Black. I think that probably wraps up your. Oh, and Swerve versus Keith Lee.
Oh yeah.
Something
Where's
good.
Keith Lee been?
Spoiler alert: he shows up on Rampage.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen him all year, so
Yeah,
I
he
was like,
they did the cinder block thing where Swerve hit the big stomp on him, and they've
yeah, I
just had him
remember
selling
seeing
it.
that.
They've had him sell it since then. So
Huh. So it's
uh,
just been off TV.
yeah, so thankfully it means we'll have Swerve and Keith Lee on TV again, which
Yeah,
those
that
are
should
two
be
of my
good.
favorite guys. So Rampage, like I said this week, we have Swerve Strickland versus Dustin Rhodes, Ricky Starks versus Daniel Garcia, Jade Cargill versus Vert Vixen, and of course the Elite versus AR Fox and Top Flight for the AEW World Trios Championship. So a good Rampage worth checking out
Yeah.
later on this week.
Vert Vixen is also facing Saki Akai on the TDT show in
Yeah, she also
the
faced
Nordic.
Yuko Sakazaki, I think, on Dark this week. So she's really checking all the boxes right now.
Yeah, like
Good for,
that's cool.
good for her. All right. So, like I said, we were gonna close out the show with a little bit of conversation about Switchblade, Jay White, and in that Battle in the Valley, New Japan's big time US show this coming Saturday night. Of course, it's with the double main event, wink wink, of Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada, as well as the IWGP Women's Championship match, Kyrie versus Mercedes Monet, but none of them are AEW talents, so unfortunately we can't talk too much about them. What we can talk about, of course, is the match that Jay White has on this show, which is one-on-one with Eddie Kingston. This very well could be the final New Japan match of Jay White's career, or not career, maybe just his run. He's young, but
Yeah.
it's worth noting because, of course, Jay White is soon to be without a home, at least from what we know. He's been very hush hush about it. He, of course, lost the loser leaves Japan match against Hikuleo at the New Beginning last week. So, the ultimate question is for you, Sondre, would you like to see Jay White sign with All Elite Wrestling?
Sure. I'm not the biggest Jay White fan. I soured a lot on him last year when he won the title. But I do think that the best Jay White is this is kind of like sacrilegious to say, but the best Jay White was the Jay White we saw in Impact during the pandemic. I'm sorry to say. This is like, I'm sorry to say that, but it's actually true because he he fits that like high explosive TV style so much better than the long, drawn out New Japan style. And I've always said that about Jay White, because his matches in New Japan, because New Japan likes to have long main events, always go like 20, have like 50 minutes of very very nothing, and mostly just heel work from him to the crowd. That was at least like how his run at the end of last year was, or like during last year when he came back. Uh, and then like he gets really really explosive and good and heated during the final stretch, but the like 20 minutes spent up until that point is not for me, because it's just slow. And I have my qualms with him, but I do think that the TV style of the American, like, TV style is perfect for him, and I hope wherever he goes, they will let him play to his strength, which is that, in my opinion.
People will be sad for me to say that Jay White is going to be so good on US television.
Yes, he will. He
He
will be.
is
That is the perfect place for him, because that's
it is.
the perfect style.
It is. It is promo heavy, which I have been saying this for weeks. I'll say it for months. I'll say it for the next year. Jay White is a better heel than MJF ever dreamt of being.
Oh yeah.
Whether it be in ring, on the mic, it doesn't matter. He doesn't need cheap heat to get over. And I think you made a great point. He does seem to have almost expired in the New Japan world. Unless he was going to turn babyface,
Yeah.
it wasn't going to work anymore as the Bullet Club leader doing what he does. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved his match with Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. I went back and watched it. It's a lot more physical than I expected it to be. And that's kind of where Okada's going right now. It's more of Okada on that one that I'm giving credit to, because this dude's just he's Okada. Once again, he feels like that Okada. And of course, next week, him and Kaito Kiyomiya on the Keishimuto retirement show. Everyone watch it. I'm very excited.
We will be talking about that show in full on the Dramatic Dream Dragons.
I was gonna say Dramatic Dream Dragons will be the place to listen for the 5-Star Network next week if you want to hear coverage for that show. Also, Amy has a great preview coming out, so make sure to check that out on the website as well. All the cheap plugs, but with Switchblade, Mr. Jay White, I think he will succeed wherever he goes, because that's just the type of wrestler he is. But him in AEW is such a perfect fit, because people have been talking about, well, they need heels, they need top heels. You can't get much better than bringing Jay White. And the reason I pitched that Adam Cole match is because, one, you could present it as a surprise, present it as Adam Cole versus a mystery opponent, and then it could be Jay White, and then Jay White could be very heel, as he is, beat Adam Cole, and then just like that, you establish a new top heel with Jay White, and you establish a new baby face with Adam Cole. It's almost too good to be true, so that's why I almost can't get my hopes up that it happens. I think the people that there are people that are upset that Jay White is leaving New Japan. I know. It's more people than maybe our than maybe our circle says. But a lot of people are upset that Jay White's leaving. And I'll say that what Jay White's doing, he's just following the lead of every other Bullet Club leader. It's just what happens. They come in, they do their thing, and they leave, whether it be for WWE or AEW with Kenny Omega, of course. That is what happens. Here's the hoping that the new trend is that they go to AEW instead of WWE, because I would prefer Jay White in AEW, even if I do think he will succeed in WWE as Jamie whatever they call him.
Yeah.
Him and Eddie this weekend will be great. I'll say that. That should go without saying. That's the Eddie Kingston special is being great. As long as Eddie's able to wrestle it, of course. Eddie also got announced for a DDT show, so you know, with your Kip Sabians, you get an Eddie Kingston somewhere down the line.
Well, not in Japan, sadly, but
no,
I get him. I get him teaming with Yuno Akiyama, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you still get to talk about it though, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Hopefully Japan someday. That's the hope,
Hopefully.
right? But all right, well, I guess that's it for the All Elite cast. We want Jay White in AEW. That'd be cool. If it doesn't happen, then
I'm fine with wherever he goes, just as long as he's happy himself.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Jay White, I think a lot of people need to remember is that Jay White has always been very about pro wrestling is a job for him. It's not his number one love. He's really good at it, seeing that it's his job when he's at his best. But I'm sure he'll be happy. He gets to be back home. Well, not home, but in America where he now calls home. And he won't have to travel as much, which I think was the biggest part of his problem and why he will be signing elsewhere. So, yeah, that's good for Jay White. This was the All Elite cast. Sondre, hit him with all the plugs.
Dramatic Dream Dragons here on the 5-Star Network. Listen to that.
Yes,
also, I am on Twitter at Sondre Bjorn. You can find me just by typing in Sondre and then seeing the guy that actually talks about wrestling, because I am probably the only Sondre in the world that is talking about wrestling. So but I'm from Norway, so that's why. But it was really fun to be back talking with you, and my first time on the All Elite cast. I hope to be back one day. One day I hope to be back, and I hope that AEW will put on a better show that I can gush about.
Yeah, I almost feel like you got to promise that when we do have you back, it has to be a good show. I don't want you to suffer. This was a tough break for you, especially after their run the past couple weeks. At least we could have had a Danielson match to gush over, but that was not the case. So we'll make sure to have you back somewhere down the line. Of course, I'll be back next week here on the All Elite cast to talk about Dynamite. Hopefully we'll have 6-Star back for that. No promises, school's going on, so we allow 6-Star to do whatever needs to be done to succeed, of course, and I'll figure it out from there. But you can follow me at Scott E Wrestling on Twitter if you don't already. Though if you're listening to this podcast and you don't, then that's shocking. Just because I don't know how else you found this. But if you found it a different way because you like AEW and you want a new AEW podcast, then welcome to the show. This was probably not the show for you to listen to, but thanks for lasting this long. Anyways, for Sondre, I'm Scott. Until next time, see ya.